Let's bring in our Browns beat reporter, Kay Cabot, joining us via phone. Kay, how are you?
I'm fine, guys. How you doing?
Doing well. Kay, TJ Ward, we got to hear from him yesterday in a conference call, and it was kind of enlightening. He basically said that the Browns, if they made him an offer, it wasn't really a good enough offer for his agents to show to him. Do you think the Browns made any sort of real effort to keep TJ Ward?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think, there are always those discussions, before you hit free agency. So they did have some conversations, but there was nothing that you would be able to call a concrete offer. And TJ was very adamant about that. Right after he signed with the Broncos, he tweeted out there, they did not make me an offer point blank, go Broncos, and there it is. So let's call that one a no.
Do the Browns miss him, Kay?
I kind of think they do. I do agree that, you need to keep your own talent. Mm-hmm. You need to bring your guy. You need to draft well, and then you need to hang on to your guys for so many different reasons. I mean, TJ wanted to be here to try to turn this thing around with Joe Hayden. So I really do think that they do miss a guy like TJ. And I think it's unfortunate that they don't keep the guys that they've drafted. But the problem is, they bring in new regimes, and they have no loyalty to the previous regime's high draft picks, and that's been the problem with this team.
Yeah, Kay, it's interesting you bring that up because, look, we all know this team has had a lot of trouble with drafts, and in the last couple of years we've seen TJ Ward, a guy they drafted, gone, Jabal Sheard, gone. How can you sustain anything if you're doing that?
Well, you really can't. So, I mean, when you couple that with, not keeping your homegrown guys, and then drafting very, very poorly, especially in the first round, that's a recipe for disaster. Then you're spinning your wheels and you're having to come up with the guys like, K1 Williams and Taylor Gabriel and guys like that that are undrafted because, you're just not drafting well. And that's been a huge problem. I mean, I looked back to this past game, and, I mean, boy, they could just have a whole little section over there on the bench for the first-round picks that really aren't playing. I mean, you're talking about, Johnny, Justin, Barkevius Mingo. I mean, there is just no way that you can sustain or even acquire success with that kind of track record.
Kay, another strong game for Josh McCown, named AFC Offensive Player of the Week, but he goes into this game against Denver, easily the toughest defense that the Browns have gone against this year, a little bit banged up. What's the situation with Josh McCown and that ankle?
Well, I watched him very closely in the very short period of time that we're allowed to watch practice, which is only about 15 minutes or so, and he was moving around on that ankle absolutely fine yesterday. You would never have known that there was an issue. However, for him to even say that it's sore at all, and for Mike Pettin to say that it's sore, and for them to have him limited in practice, maybe there's a tiny, tiny bit of gamesmanship there. But, for them to say that at all, I think it's, somewhat significant because Josh McCown is such a tough guy. I mean, we have seen now, I watched that hand closely before the San Diego game, and it really did. It looked like a blowfish. It was huge. And, he had no qualms about playing with that. He never wanted to come out with a concussion, never wanted to stay out for a game with a concussion. So if he's even saying at all that it's sore, I think it's significant. And, boy, you've got to be at your absolute 100% best to try to deal with the Von Millers and maybe even the DeMarcus Wares.
Kay, you just mentioned it. How do the Browns deal with this Broncos pass rush? It's really kind of what makes this defense go.
Well, you know what? That's going to be probably, maybe the number one thing to look at in this game. How does that offensive line handle, Von Miller, Shane Ray, possibly DeMarcus Ware, and then, then they'll be blitzing TJ Ward and things like that too. So they have 22 sacks. That's number one in the NFL. They have that for a reason. And this is going to be a tremendous challenge. I mean, last week, Josh McCown was sacked 4 times. And, we weren't even talking, they were without Terrell Suggs, and then Elvis Dumerville left that game. So you're not talking about, a great pass rush last week, and they were still sort of vulnerable to it. Josh is going to have to get rid of the ball quickly. He's going to have to learn to see another down in this game. He is not going to be able to hang on and look for the perfect play.
Mary Kay, what can the Browns do to get the running game going? It seems like it still remains a problem. They got it going a little bit in the fourth quarter overtime there when they had to move the chains, when they had to get in third and manageable. But what can they do to remedy this running game problem that they've had pretty much all year?
Well, you know what? I actually don't know if they're overly worried about it too much because they're kind of using the shorter passing game as their running game in some respects. So I don't, just knowing what I've seen from Flip so far, John DeFilippo, the OC, I don't know that he's going to beat his head against the wall trying to run the ball. We didn't see them do that in Baltimore. I don't know that we'll see them do that against Denver. If it's not working, they're not going to try too hard to stick with it. They're going to find a way to move the ball. And obviously they were able to move the ball last week when they were taking away the run. So, again, I think you'll see different ways of moving the ball. I don't necessarily think that they'll ground and pound it out.
Mary Kay, moving to the other side of the football, Danny Shelton, he hasn't had that much of an impact this season. We finally saw him against Baltimore bust into the backfield and make at least one play, but then he had two pretty ugly penalties as well that Mike Pettin called him out on Monday. Where is Danny Shelton right now, do you think?
Well, he's having his rookie ups and downs for sure. And those are the kinds of things that you would expect from a rookie. But, they wanted him to pop last season. They asked him to make an impact. And, again, he made the wrong kind of an impact a couple of times. Sometimes you get a little over your head and out of your game if you're trying to press and do too much and show up on film and all those kinds of things. So, I think he got the message, but he interpreted it maybe the wrong way. Now he's got to dial back the silliness and just play good, hard football. And they're going to have to understand, too, that they're going to have some growing pains when you have a rookie nose tackle in there. That's just how it is. That's life in the NFL for a rookie. And I think the thing to watch with Danny Shelton as we go along here is the fact that these young guys, are not used to playing a long season. So once they get beyond, 10 games or so, they start to wear down a little bit. So we're going to have to watch stat, although he's not playing a ton of snaps. The other thing that I noticed with Danny Shelton, I think he's got too much body fat. I think he needs more muscle, less body fat, and I think he'll hold up better in there.
All right, Mary Kay, taking the names out of it and just going based on what we've seen so far this year, going into Sunday's game, who has the advantage at quarterback? Is it the Cleveland Browns with a red-hot Josh McCown, or is it the Denver Broncos with Peyton Manning, who has not been the Peyton Manning that we've grown used to?
Well, you know what? It's almost a little bit, in some ways, Chris, a trick question because you've got the red-hot quarterback, probably one of the hottest quarterbacks in the NFL right now, but he's going against the number one defense in the NFL. Then you've got a quarterback with, let's say, diminishing skills. How about that? You've got a quarterback on the other side of the ball, diminishing skills, future Hall of Famer, but he's going against a bad defense. So it's not an apples to apples comparison. And I'm actually probably going to explore that whole thing for Sunday's paper because that's what I find so interesting about this game. It's not like Peyton and Josh are both going up against these great defenses and who's going to prevail. It's just a matter of, it's just an intriguing way to look at the game, and I don't know. I'm having a hard time trying to figure out what I think is going to happen with the outcome.
All right, Mary Kay Cabot, our Browns beat reporter. Thanks for the time, Mary Kay.
Thank you, guys.